Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the 2-year mark of the 3D Leadership Podcast. Woo-hoo. My name is Dennis. I am just one of the hosts of this podcast. If you're tuning into us for the first time, here's just a couple housekeeping things for you. One, we are specifically a leadership podcast. That means that what we're going to be talking about is related to practical leadership application of biblical principles. If you're looking for a way to check in with us on social media, you can find us on YouTube and you can find us on Instagram. Both handles are at 3D Leadership Podcast. Now, we always want to make sure we honor the house that we're hosting our conversation out of. We always want to honor Mon Christian Gifts out of Crabtree Mall because this ministry has been a big part of how we've been able to grow, how we've been able to develop. But I wanted to take a few minutes just to give you some context, right? Some context as to how we came about, how we got to where we are today, and I'm going to be interviewing some of our team today so you can get to know them a bit better and see where we are pursuing to go. So we started back in 2023, and the whole idea of this was there's a lot of very good theological teaching out there. There's a lot of very good outlets for leadership. But when it comes to practical application, there's great principles being taught, but we found there wasn't a ton of emphasis on practical application or thought leadership. So our goal here was to say, okay, our whole team is a group of believers. We all believe that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, and that the Word is the number one truth that exists. And our goal as trying to grow in our faith is how do we simplify the Word? How do we simplify just the principles the Bible talks about, right? So what our podcast is focused on is this. We want to simplify biblical principles for you surrounding leadership, so that way, as you move about your everyday life, in general terms, whether you're a believer or not, you can see the success principles that are taking place. So hopefully as you're tuning in, what you'll experience is some value. You'll experience something you can take away today and automatically see a difference in. Now, we don't ask you to subscribe or like or comment anything. I do this, or when I watch content, I automatically comment and like stuff and share stuff with my wife or my friends that I love. So I'm not going to ask you to do it. I don't like being that standard subscribe now type person. If you like it, you'll subscribe. If you like it, you'll comment. If you like it, you share it with friends. Like, that's just a natural byproduct. So our main focus is making sure that you receive value and you're able to walk away from this with value. Now, the topic for today is going to be a conversation around faith over facts. Not denying facts, but having faith despite what facts might say. When this podcast started, we were in a very difficult spot for most of our team. Life transitions happening, no budget for equipment, transparently not much of an idea of what we were doing. I've had experience speaking at events, I've had experience leading youth ministries, but never launching a full-blown podcast, let alone the rest of our team. I'm a business owner. I'm in sales. Like that's my bread and butter, is knowing how do I help you through something I have. So this was a brand new arena to all of us. But what we had to learn was that even though the facts were saying one thing, or we're not qualified enough, even though we don't have any money for any equipment, even though none of us feel prepared to do this, we knew that there was something in us. For us, it was the Holy Spirit telling us, I need you to obey me in this and watch me fulfill what I'm telling you to do. And the online effects you see nowadays, the camera angles, if you come into the store, the camera set that we have, the banner, all of this was in some way, shape, or form donated. Which I'm telling you this not to say how amazing we're doing. I'm here to tell you we had to have faith over what the facts were telling us. Sometimes the facts actually add to your faith. In our case, the facts were not going to add to our faith. In fact, they were challenging us to have faith. So my goal with interviewing individual team members today is that you start recognizing maybe there's areas in my life where the facts tell me something isn't going to work, and that's specifically where God's asking, will you believe in me over the facts you're seeing? If you look at any biblical story, that's what you're going to experience with Moses, with David, with Daniel. All of those guys, the facts, the circumstances were not favoring them, but they had a God who was sovereign over the facts and just wanted to prove that despite what the facts say, I'm still God. So with that said, the first person I want to bring up is a longtime friend of mine. I've known him since before the podcast began. I knew him from different college ministries that we were a part of. I knew him like before he was even now married with a kid. Like, I still remember he was single and we were just trying to figure out what life was about.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I want to invite Dozy to come up to join me here on the sofa, and I want you to get to know this man a little bit. What he thinks, how he thinks, and just understand how this pertains to the podcast. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
You doing good?
Yeah, it's been a while actually. A lot of
It has, yeah.
recently.
I mean, last 2 months you had a kid, like,
Yep.
job is still going well, I hope, but
Yep.
having a kid definitely changes the schedule a little bit.
Yep, have a beautiful baby girl. She is about a month now. It's been
Love
different.
it.
Yeah,
Love it.
losing a lot of sleep, but you know, it's been great so far.
You're rest when you're dead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so, Dozy,
Yeah.
we've had a long relationship in the past, and this podcast, you can obviously share more of this than I can. I gave, when it came to us starting this together, on a scale of 1 to 10, how clearly would you say I communicated a vision? 10 being amazing to 1 being atrocious.
One. You had no idea what we
Okay,
were
thanks.
doing at all. No, when you called me and my wife, you were literally like, we're trying to do this leadership thing. I thought there were going to be like kids here. We're going to have to like try to talk to them about who the Lord is, what leadership looks like, and things like that. And we had no idea what we were doing. It started off just being like, oh, we should do some videos and like maybe like give some like words of wisdom. And then it was like, oh, you know what? We could do a podcast. Okay, cool. Where's the camera? Okay, well, I guess we can use our phone. Yeah, use our phone. And then we got some microphones. And then, I mean, if you see our older videos, you know, the quality wasn't that good, but the Spirit of God was still moving through there. There was still a lot of knowledge in there. So please go watch it still. But it's just beautiful. It's almost about 2 years now, right? To see what it's become. It's been amazing, honestly. We've met a lot of amazing people the Lord has just brought to us. And yeah, like you said, everything's been donated. We had no idea what we're doing. We had no vision, but I give kudos to you because you were just somebody who just taking it one step at a time, just going off faith. You had no idea what God was planning for us in that regard, but you just
That's
was like,
a subtle way of putting it.
yeah, but you were just like, well, God, I'm here. So whatever you have planned, I'm willing to do. And honestly, that's the type of spirit that we felt affection to. Me and my wife felt affection to. We're like, yeah, whatever's going on, let's just be a part of it. Let's just do it. And so, yeah.
So let's go down memory lane here a little bit from a leadership standpoint.
Yeah.
We started with a broken tripod and my phone.
Yes, that's true.
A YouTube channel that I had to resurrect from like years of not posting golf videos. And and over the course of time, we got invited to, what was it, the Advanced Next Gen conference?
Yes, yeah, which was amazing, by the way.
Yeah, it's like our first ever education conference. Then from there came, what was it, Wendell Central Academy?
Yeah,
which was helping launch that school. And then
Up the mayor there too.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We had a pause. That opened the door for us to connect with a mayor, an interim mayor, and the head of the school.
Which was
have
beautiful.
a spiritual conversation about how you approach life and politics with your faith.
Amen. Yeah, that was really cool. When I saw that, I said, "Wow, Lord's really working. This is pretty cool." So yeah, I'll never forget that. That was an amazing day. So that's why I won't forget it too, because I didn't dress to impress. If I had some backup clothes in the car, I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and wear something a little bit more appropriate for this situation.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So continue on from there. We started seeing more fruit in terms of equipment. We started getting invitations with our Iced Coffee Cottage for their festivals.
Yeah.
So let's play this out. So with the doors that began to open, where can you say that you had to in the areas where you needed to grow? Where do you say that, whether it's the podcast, whether it was stepping out in faith in those areas, what parts of your faith were growing at the time? And why do you think they were?
I think the part of my faith that really set a stone for me was one, how patient God is, but that also God doesn't call us to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a lot of times where, because of life transition, things like that we weren't able to always be fully focused on the podcast or things going on in our lives, right? And what I found was that even though those things were happening, we still wanted to come here and still make this a priority. What I felt that God was showing in my faith was God doesn't call us to be perfect. He calls us to be good, but He doesn't call us to be perfect. He just wants us to meet us where we're at in that regard, and to just keep moving forward, taking each step day by day, and trying to figure out what is it that we're trying to trust Him with. How this really shaped my faith, though, was I think it was like maybe one of the first few times we did this, right? And we had, him and his friend came through and just listened to us talking about the podcast, wanted to give his life to Christ. And for me, if like we take away for anything of that, it was the beauty of like being the honor of being someone that the Lord could use to speak wisdom and life into somebody to turn their life towards God in that regard. And from that point on, that's something that I always stand on foundation. Like, okay, regardless of how you feel, regardless of what's going on in your life, make the main thing the main thing. You know what I'm saying? And if that's the main thing, we're doing great. We're doing exactly what we need to do. And wherever that goes, just trust God in it. So seeing the fruits of that has been amazing. But it's not just about like the cameras and all the things that God's given us. It's just the honor and the opportunity to go and spread His message to whoever's listening and see how that can help Him. And the fact that we get the honor to do that has been an amazing part. So my faith has shifted towards that, honestly.
So from a non-faith perspective, for someone who maybe doesn't really subscribe to the Christian faith yet, but can still apply the leadership principles, where could you say you noticed an area of weakness that had to get developed more, whether it was through routine development, whether it was through you pursuing personal growth, whatever it may be? Like, where can you say is like, hey, this actually caused me to take accountability in this manner and have to develop myself more intentionally?
Well, for that person who's a non-believer, I would definitely first say like, well, let's have a talk. Let's have a talk about that first. But I think to take biblical aspects and make it more applicable in this area, for me, what I found was communication and scheduling has been things that I've had to get better at, especially with this podcast. What I feel like really hinders somebody is if you don't have the discipline. You can have all the ideas and goals in life, but you have the discipline and the wherewithal to take steps in your life to carry out those practices and do the things that you set your heart towards, they will never get done. Everybody has ideas. Everybody has goals that they want to accomplish, but you have to take the step to understanding like, okay, what is it going to take to do that? What sacrifices you're going to have to make in your life to make sure these things become a reality. Mm-hmm. And I would say to non-believer, this is where faith in God has to come into play, because lots of times things are not going to be done just by your willpower. There are many things that are clearly done just simply being obedient to God and allowing Him to do what He needs to do in that regard. And you just take a step of faith and knowing that, like, okay, I'm going to take a step of faith and just trust in what God's calling me to do. Yeah. Like we didn't have, like you said before, we didn't have a plan of action like what this looked like, but we were faithful in the sense of like we just want to be able to spread His message to what we believe is important. And yeah.
I love that. I mean, it's been cool to see how you and Bailey have grown over the course of time, and how going from having questions about faith to there being application and even revelation through the application, which is the only way to get the revelation. Yeah. But I mean, we both know we could talk forever. First off, I can tell you this, that it's been awesome to see the growth from when we first met in like 2017, 2018 till now. Yeah. Kind of crazy to think, well, we're going to be coming up on like, in 2028 it's going to be 10 years.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
Like, even think about like where the podcast will be in 10 years from now, what God's got planned, who knows?
Yeah, man.
But like, knowing all of those things, what I can tell you, one is that it's been a wild ride so far. Mm-hmm. It's been a blast. Thankful to have you as one of the pillars on the team to be able to kind of walk in faith in that manner. But two, it's also because if I didn't have other people that I had to interview, I would totally keep on that couch. But I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for all your help, all you've done.
Absolutely, like always.
I want to actually, if you want to pass the mic over to the next person, I'm going to bring up a new ministry partner of ours. Somebody that has a passion for development, passion for discipleship, and is looking to step into this next phase of life. So Jason, coming up here, man.
Woo, Jason!
Thank you.
How you doing, bud?
You good?
Yeah? Awesome. So, to jump right into it here, let me ask this question first. What was it about the podcast? What was it about what you've experienced here that made you want to pursue discipleship development and like helping youth like through like as a partner what we're doing? Like what sparked that interest for you?
Well, I mean, the branding's really cool, so I'm a millennial. That's always a win.
Appreciate that.
I think I'm
That's funny.
definitely grateful for the partnership, and we're still trying to figure out what this is going to look like and how that's going to go about. But I think it was just how we met. Like,
We're doing fine.
Here, and I need to get a.
Oh, she's doing good.
Our technical
She's doing just
production coordinator over here is telling me I need to get mic'd up.
I'll hold mic for you real quick.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we're good. We got the thumbs up.
I got
Yeah,
you.
so I think just how we met.
Okay, no worries.
It was like an impromptu thing. You're like, hey, we need to get a speaker here in the event, and then
Yeah, we're doing just
we
fine
wound up
now.
actually like doing a whole like podcast episode, but I guess it didn't get recorded,
Oh.
and the camera got cut off. So
Yeah,
Plenty of
basically.
technical issues that we had in the beginning.
So
Yeah.
hopefully that message reached.
No, well, from my
the people that
understanding,
need to
no, but
hear
I'm
it.
not home right now.
But I've done a few podcasts before for college.
Oh, I'm
students,
I'm doing the podcast.
just different topics, and so I always enjoy
doing the podcast right
interviewing and getting into the scriptures.
Podcast.
But no, I think if I'm being honest, like actually the last couple times I had a chance, or maybe it was
Podcast, Mom.
I know we did at least one episode, and then I can't remember if we
Remember
did
the
a second
video
one. Thought we did
Thing I
too.
was telling you about?
But everything just kind of flowed. Like I
Yeah.
normally I'd have to like sit and prepare and. If I'm
Okay,
left to my own devices, if you've been like
Right.
a Bible
too
study or
much.
something,
Right.
I'll like to ramble and get into deep dives. But when I was with the group, I just really took the time to listen, and it was new, so I wanted to make sure what I communicated was clear. And I just sensed that was the Holy Spirit, because I'm like, I'm not the sharpest sword, but I'll do
Hey,
the work.
Jesse,
And so I
one-
think
one
that's
thing- one
probably
last thing.
why
I
I
was
wanted to
thinking
get
about something.
connected. And also, it's like a young
When-
professional. I'm in that same season, so.
You, so
but no, I just
when the
really
order
like
comes in on
envisioning
Monday,
what you're
right?
doing here, and it's working. So
You
why
said
not doing that?
Thursday the order
Sure.
for next week
I love
drops.
that, and I mean,
We
you
just
actually
haven't
brought
gotten
up a
it
really
till
good
Monday,
point
right?
that I'm not going to do like
So
a
what if you
super deep
just
dive into it,
didn't-
but
because
the phrase
it'll
you
pop
just
up
said was
in
like,
the,
I don't feel like the sharpest
inventory,
sword
right?
myself.
But what if we just
And
didn't
it's funny
pull it in
how
until Monday?
That's why the word says iron sharpens iron. We're literally meant
Right.
to do life together because we sharpen each other.
Right.
Anyone who doesn't see
Oh, yeah, that's
success
right.
on their own is because you're
Yeah. That's
as
true.
you get
You're right.
used,
It
you
does
start,
go backwards
and
up.
your
Yeah, the
knife
only thing that
starts to
doesn't
dull.
drop is the.
That's why God designed the
is the
discipleship,
super
the disciples
This is
to
good.
be in
That's
community.
right.
Because it's literally about
That's
you have to be
stupid. Okay,
together
no worries.
with each
Thank
other
you.
to sharpen each
I
other.
just
Otherwise you
remembered
get
that.
dull
That's
and
true.
you
You're
get
right.
inefficient, because then
Right.
All right,
life
thanks. All
happens,
right, thank you
life
for letting
hits
me know
you
Right.
without the
So wait,
resharpening.
why didn't they just
you
do it
can't
for
get sharp.
Thursday then?
So no, that was a good point.
So here's kind of, as you were saying that, I was thinking,
Yeah.
you
I
could
mean,
study the
doing it
Word
on
of
Monday
God.
doesn't
This
make any sense
is
because
the
then
Word of
we-
God.
then we'll
So
always-
the
Okay,
Word doesn't need
fine.
a defense.
All right. Well, thank you.
But I think like a sword, it always works. It's always really cool when you're actually using that sword in battle, and it's doing what it's meant to do.
Yeah.
But you can still marvel at the Word, and on its own, it's enough.
Yeah.
And so it's more than enough. But yeah, I think that there's something powerful God does when you put it to practice and you really, know how to wield it. And a lot of times we run into self-injury because we're doing things with the Word that we're not supposed to be doing, or we're training and we get hurt
Yeah.
in the training. We think that is the spiritual battle, when in reality, like, that's just the gear up for your next campaign. And it's a lifelong kind of endeavor. As you pass from death to life, someone else is going to pick up that sword. So we're kind of really entering, we're really coming behind the heels of people for generations back, and really it's Christ he's the one that's our victor. He's the one, our author and forerunner of faith.
Well, I love it. So, on the topic of
So leadership.
discipleship, on the topic of partnering up and pursuing that iron sharpening iron development, Walk me through your thought process here. We know the world right now is very much so fighting for solidarity, like being solo, being on your own, like fighting team efforts. It's all about like whatever you want is your way. Like everything is, I don't want to say I don't know if solidified is the right word, but everything's about you yourself. So from a discipleship standpoint, whether it's a spiritual conversation or it's just accountability, development, like relationship building, why do you think that has the impact it does? I mean, obviously from a spiritual side we know, but like from someone who isn't a believer and feels like they aren't connected anywhere, they don't have that community, why would you say they should take initiative to pursue a community or pursue those relationships, like for the benefits of what community and accountability provides? Like, why would you say that's something that should be prioritized today compared to it being marketed like on your own is okay, do you, boo, like follow your heart, etc. Like, why should community be something we prioritize, whether it's spiritual or not?
So,
I do not have that one prepared. So
no, that was good.
That
was good, and I think,
well,
I think one, because the word says it, so we should do what the word says, because that'll go well with us.
100%.
But I think too, because the effect that has for a watching world that doesn't know, the Creator God. They may have a different way they try to get that answer, whether it's a different religion or different philosophy. But when they see it lived out in someone, a saint, born again, son of God, they should see something fundamentally different than the world has to offer.
It should be literally a different result.
Right. And then maybe in tandem with that, and maybe we'll wait for another, as it develops. But there was something actually I was going to read, and it's one of the pastoral epistles to Timothy, but it really has to do with that same question about discipleship and leadership. Because often we look at leadership, even biblically, like who doesn't want to look at like Moses or Joshua or Jesus and Paul and the disciples, but we always want to look at like the highlight, the best moments. Not always the times when things are really bad and people are bailing out on you and stuff. So, and that just goes into leadership. Like you can't just love your people when everything's going good and you're in the black. Like you have to have that vision and keep looking ahead. And what's the reliable source of which you're looking ahead.
I love that. So, just to kind of give people context to the future we're building towards. One of the goals that our podcast group has is to develop a more of a community involvement, meaning Bible study, meaning small groups like that. We will never be a church. We don't plan to be a physical church, but we do take the commandment of being people of the church seriously. And we want to be able to provide opportunities for everyone to connect, to build community, whether it's Bible study, whether it's small, like just worship nights, like Jason and Danny, one of our other hosts, he's at a conference today, so he actually couldn't be here, but I love the fact that he's pouring out somewhere else, is they are going to be the points of contact for community involvement, community outreach, where it's focused around discipleship, development, and really giving you that space where that conversations can be had, those relationships can be built. So I just wanted to say I appreciate you stepping up. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Well, two things. One, on the topic you mentioned earlier about, I think just discipleship. This is like a big, that can mean a lot of things, by the way. Like, scripturally, I like how Jesus walked with the disciples. He didn't just, give them wisdom and then kind of did his own thing. But he really showed them how to do it. And then I was talking to Monica before and some of the ladies that are going to be sharing. Lisa is going to be sharing a little bit about her insights. But, this idea of, trusting and creating a space for God to work through you. And I know it is a leadership podcast. So obviously it's, I'm just going to say what the word says and let the listener kind of derive what they can in that context. But this is just one of those things where, hey, do your best. This is Paul, leader, right? really, I mean, he's saying this to Timothy, one of his disciples, and call him one of his intern disciples, do your best to come to me soon, for Demas, in love with this present world, has deserted me and gone to Thessalonica. Now, that's not good if you're trying to lead people and people
Sure.
are bailing out of you and they're canceling contracts and they're going out and doing their own thing. But he says Crescens has gone to Galatia, Titus to Dalmatia, Luke alone is with me, who wrote the Gospel Luke. Get Mark and bring him with you, for he is very useful to me for ministry. By the way, that's one of your hires that basically he starts running with you and putting up good numbers, and then he basically says, no, this is too much, and he leaves and pieces out, and then over time he's Peter took him under his wing and kind of helped him up. And so sometimes your folks, they're on there for a season, they go do other things, they come back and they're in different seasons, they're ready to actually learn. And we'll anything you want to respond, and then we'll kind of finish it out.
No, I think that's a great point. Leadership and discipleship isn't a linear route. It fluctuates. It's a relationship. It's not about you're going from point A to point B. It's, hey, we're here no matter what happens in life. Most cases we attach discipleship to a season of life, or us being in the same season, rather than, hey, whatever season you're in, how can we be of value to you? And I think that's how a lot of relationships are today, where once the season of that life ends, there were, in many cases, I did a talk on this a long time ago, about there's seasonal relationships, there's situational relationships, and there's lifetime relationships. The seasonal is related to the season of life you're in. The situational is based job, it's ministry, it's relationships you build in the situation. Seasonal is relationships you build due to the season of life that you're in. And the lifetime are the ones that stick with you no matter what, because they don't care about where you are in life. They have the desire to keep that relationship, but the focus is there has to be an intention from both sides to maintain that. Otherwise, you never get to lifestyle. You either stay in seasonal or situational.
Yeah, that's good.
And most people complain that they lose friends. Well, the question shouldn't be why did they leave me? The question should be, did I make an intentional effort to build that relationship up more? And if I didn't, I've got no right to complain about it, because I didn't water that plant like I should have.
Right, that's good.
So in the same way with discipleship, same thing to you. As we disciple these people, the fact that there's already the understanding of some people will be there for a while, some may be wishy-washy, some are going to be like the prodigal son, dips out for a while, goes hard through life, and then comes back and is celebrated. That's all discipleship. Discipleship is just, are you intentionally building each other up, no matter what the timeline is?
There's so many things I want to say in response to that, but I think from a leader, a practical, so here's your to-go plate for the people watching. I think that as a discipline, but really just as a part of growing and maturing, so I'm saying there's a responsibility aspect and ownership, you could say, of how you steward your own character. And that isn't just it's not really so much how you live your life, it's your internal, right? So it's really, I think a lot of it is really stems from what people don't see. So how your personal relationships, your top, your close 3 to 5, whether marriage, kids, all that, but your walk with the Lord, how you see, that play out in your personal life, your private life. So I think there's a public-private dimension to those 3 relationships. Maybe in a private way, you're more intimate, you're more vulnerable. You allow somebody, even maybe you're your top, earners or people, to be honest with you about the business, or if your spouse, hey, privately, there's trust there. Publicly, it's not just about us. It's about the kingdom. It's about the world should see something set apart, that humility. But I think just kind of, I was listening to that and I was like, okay, character is, I think, at the heart of that. Your ability to have self-control and to love people. Monica was sharing this earlier about when she was going through this season. Literally, she's like her first day back in the store.
Sure.
Not gonna put out her business, but she learned this like point of she was she'd probably do a lot better explaining this than I will. So maybe we'll get her to come in if she's up to it and explain this. But this idea of moving out of a place of fear, because God can use that too.
Sure.
When you're kind of scared or you're not really sure if you're gonna, you're getting rejected, you're going through things, to more of love, shifting into the love, which is, hey, even though business is sucking and people are like, just they're scared, they're going to pull out of contracts, they're going to do it, like loving them through that and saying, hey, you know what, don't even worry about it, like, because guess what, the numbers may be low now, they might dip back up in the future, you might get rejected today, but maybe someone will come around in the future. Like, it's always just having that kind of long view, and like,
that shows you're walking with faith.
Yeah,
focus more on knowing who is in control of it rather than you trying to see the control coming away.
Right, because then if you're always reacting, and you're not able to, because especially when you're like leading other people, I mean, geez, like if the building's on fire and you're the most calm person in the room, who's actually gonna listen? You're gonna listen to the person freaking out, and or you're gonna listen to the person's like, hey, we're gonna get through this.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm usually the guy that freaks out a little bit, and then I'm like, hey, no one saw that, we're good here.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun though this year. We've got a lot of really cool expansion plans taking place, and we'll be able to advertise some more of that as time goes on. But I did at least want to tell you, like, one, I appreciate you coming and just being involved even before we started to partner together, because it showed that your heart was to develop and to grow, just trying to find the right avenue to do that through.
Right.
And I genuinely hope that partnering with the team, us being one team and totally unified, that we'll see the fruit that you've been praying for, we've been praying for, and that we can see God do some really awesome things together. I'm excited, man.
I like that. Hey, by the way, I wasn't going to come to the other events. I didn't get the message, or I wasn't on social media, so I would have been at the other ones. Can I just finish out this section real quick, and then we'll open it up for whoever's next. But I'm not going to read everything, but it just says, hey, by the way, in business and life, you're going to have some haters, right? So Paul says, hey, Alexander the coppersmith did me great harm. The Lord will repay him according to his deeds. We like that one, right? Then he says, and of course he's letting his people know, hey, beware of him. Don't do business with this guy. He's shady, right? But say, beware of him yourselves, for he strongly opposed our message. At my first offense, no one came to stand by me, but all deserted me. What does that sound like? Sounds like Jesus, right? We're gonna be there sometimes, even when you got your loved ones around you. You're gonna feel that. But he says, may it not be charged against them. So we don't get, this isn't Old Testament. We don't get, oh, I'm gonna short their stock, or I'm gonna, I'm not gonna give them, I'm not gonna really talk to them anymore. I mean, we just release them. And I kind of like, I don't want to get into technicals, but like, if you're on these apps, you're looking for someone, and you're not interested in them, but you don't want to offend, just swipe up. Swipe right, swipe left, just swipe up. Swipe, give them to Jesus. But the Lord, he said this, but may not be charged against them, right?
It's a hard posture of, I'm not going to hold it against you because I know who's ultimately repaying me. Because
he's repaying me. And you know what? Also, that person's in a process too. You don't know how far back and deep that goes. But he says this in verse 17. So this is 2 Timothy chapter 4. You guys can read this later. I'm going to finish it out here. But the Lord, this is key, but, you ever see a but? That's good. But the Lord stood by me and strengthened me, so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed and all the Gentiles might hear it. And then he says, so he rescued me from the lion's mouth. That's like, hey, you're getting a breakthrough. The Lord will rescue me from every evil deed and bring me safely into his heavenly kingdom. That's his vision. That's his destination, to go be back, really just to be with God, who he loves and who he serves, and says to him be the glory forever and ever, and amen. So from a practical standpoint, why I'm seeing this is maybe in like to contextualize it for this. Hey, when you're pressing into your vision, when you're pursuing your goals, when you're hustling, you're going to have opposition. You're going to have partners in your ventures, in your relationships that are going to be there for times. They're going to back out. Some say they're going to commit, but they don't. Others are going to be dragging it down, and then you're going to have rivals in that pursuit, whether it's other businesses, whether it's internal, even if it's yourself. Sometimes you got to step out of the equation yourself because you're the one holding up the progress. your ideas, your thoughts, your visions. You got to let maybe some of your juniors take the lead a little bit in certain cases. But the end state is not, well, I did this. Because every time he's like, the Lord, but the Lord, the Lord, the Lord. And where does he want to be ultimately? With the Lord. So kind of always having that higher vision for your life. And that helps put even the struggles and the failures. 'Cause let's be honest, nothing like a good disappointment or a failure to really like, is this really what I want to do? Is this really like what God called me to do? No, don't count the temporary failure as God didn't call you to do that. When you had all this backstory of you overcoming things, just stay focused on the main thing. And I had Danny, recently give me that advice myself, and I took it to heart. It took me a couple of days to process it, but
Sure.
it worked. And now I'm here, so I'm grateful.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you on board here, Jason. Before we finish things out today in general, I've got two more people I want to bring up. One's an interview, one's just an appreciation conversation. But if Sterling, if you can actually get the camera set on both you and I, and then make your way out here real quick, there's a couple of principles that the Word teaches about. If you just pass the mic to them, that'll be super helpful. There's a couple of different principles in the Word that talk about public honor, public appreciation, etc. And I want to make sure that anyone watching this knows why we look the way we look, right? Obviously, we can give you a handshake, a high five after a podcast is over, but I wanted to take intentional time, especially for our 2-year anniversary. Shoot, let alone we didn't think we'd get to 1 year, but the fact that we got to 2 is like, you've helped set up the cameras, you've helped donate equipment, you've helped literally build you literally built the computer that we're streaming from. Like the skill sets that you have, and the fact that you've just given time to help expand on this vision, it goes beyond what my words can say. But I hope that at least from a biblical standpoint, that there's bountiful treasures waiting for you in heaven because of the amount of serving you've done. You never asked for anything in return. You never asked for like, hey, I can't make it this time. You've actually, some people may have a different opinion about this, but you've come here when you were sick and have still helped get things set up, have not ever asked for anything in return. So I just wanted to make sure that I took intentional time to say, we as a team appreciate you. I am humbled that you believed enough in the vision to even not look at me as crazy, that you're willing to set the cameras up like they are. And I mean, like, actually, you wouldn't help me out for a second here. Once I go speak, have Monica come up, we're gonna show them the next surprise, which is gonna be the third camera. But I just want to make sure I said, like, just, we appreciate you beyond measure. And I hope that if there's a way for us to expand one day, that there's a way that we can compensate, because nothing that I can give will ever outgive God, but our team genuinely prays that you are rewarded heavenly for this way you've served our team and the way you make us look online. The amount of compliments I've gotten in public, people who know our podcast, that have said, this looks amazing, I love y'all's mics, the banner looks cool, y'all's camera setup is so sick. Even Bailey at home with her kid right now said, hey, like, that split screen looks fire. Like, you make us look incredible online. So
that's a work in progress, I think.
But I just wanted to make sure
today. We tried to make sure you at least knew opaque logo. I appreciate it though.
Yeah, of course. There wasn't much I was going to ask you, because half the time I'm asking you questions and like I'm asking you an encyclopedia worth of questions. So I just want to make sure I took a second to publicly appreciate you and make sure I believe in those, honoring those who we're supposed to honor. So I want to make sure you got the honor that I believe you deserved.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Now, if you can do me a favor, I don't know if Monica's in the middle of something right now or if she's snacking, but if you can help me get the camera set up here in a minute, I would love to demonstrate that also, but also have her come in to the shot real quick.
Okay.
Thank you, man.
You want her here?
Yeah, I'm gonna have her here.
Okay, that's easy.
And I'm gonna basically move with her with that camera.
Sure.
Thanks, man. So to give some context to who's coming in for kind of our last conversation, it's someone that has deeply impacted our team, deeply impacted my spiritual walk, has told me things about my spiritual walk that I never even thought about, and I want you to get to have a conversation with them now too. So Monica, thank you for taking a few seconds out of the store.
Absolutely.
For hanging out. One, it's been how many months now since I've seen you? Like 3, 4, 5, 6? Like
About
Probably not that
5.
long, but yeah, long enough. Long enough. I probably need to get like a updated contact photo just because like the hair's looking like done. It's like
Oh
okay.
yeah. We're letting the curls take over.
So, in order to keep this as concise as I can,
Yes.
where would you say you've seen the most growth in the team from the confusion we had when we started, the amount of anxious and probably crying calls I gave you, to where we are now? Like, do you have any, I don't have like a pointed question, more so just where do you see the growth in the team having taken place over the last couple of years, where we started with a broken podcast mic and a broken stand to now like a legit studio setup?
Yeah. So I would say what I've seen in you all is come into this revelation of your purpose. Because when you're starting something, it's kind of like you're navigating these waters. You get into a ship and you're just kind of sailing along, and sometimes the current will take you in one direction and then the other direction, and that's where the confusion comes in, different things like that. But I've seen you over the last 2 years, the whole team, just come into a deeper sense of purpose with this particular assignment that the Lord has given you all. And so, of course, maturity comes with experience. I don't care what anybody tells you. If they're on day 1 or day 100, it's nothing like the experience that you have with years under your belt.
I mean, you can speak to this yourself from the store, like from the store itself. Like, I walked in here expecting it to be the Amazon store, and next thing you know, it's something called Sanctuary Grown. I'm like, where did Amazon go? I was going to buy something today. And then I walk in and meet you, and now, lo and behold, getting to have a conversation with you, no back retail experience, not really, but literally just telling me, yeah, God's got it. Like, the amount of times I either heard you say you're doing great or God's got it is like, it's actually kept me from texting you a few times, because I'm like, I don't know what she's going to say. Like, I'm going to bring this to her attention. I'm going to say, I need prayer for this. I'll get a question of why is it a prayer, just to get a better idea of like what's going on internally. And then it's like, oh, so it's not that you of course will always pray, but it's because you haven't fully given it to him yet, and you're asking for support for it to be given when it's only you're the only who can give it to him. And it's been, and the reason I say it's spiritual growth is because there's been, even just like the things I was asking about like yesterday or the day before, like you mentioned to me in the very beginning of this podcast that when you started stepping in your purpose, you felt like you were unlearning God and unlearning your faith to relearn a new revelation of it. And that's been, I'm sure the team could speak for themselves, but that's definitely been me the last 2 years of the amount of times I've texted you, I feel lost. I know I am found, but I feel lost. I don't recognize me. I don't recognize half the thoughts I'm having. I'm starting to do things like from a faith standpoint that to me I think it was impossible. And a lot of it just comes to, obviously I know you would never take credit for this, but to a degree, many days where I questioned if we should keep going, it's because of a text or a call I had the day before reminding me, you're on the right path. This is what it's supposed to feel like. So to an extent, obviously we know God sustains the podcast, but it's the encouragement and talks that we've had has also kept me going to keep the podcast going.
Amen.
Because there's some days where I've told Dozy, I've told the rest of the team, I don't know if I would have showed up. Because I just questioned myself, is this worth it? No one's showing up. Like, some days where I had to be there solo, am I supposed to be doing it today? Like, I had to look back on the testimony of Mount Christian Gifts on how the store came together, and then almost like this stubborn, unshakable faith of, I don't want to have to answer to God, and I don't want to have to answer to Monica why I didn't show up.
That would be a bad idea, yes.
But like, tell me this from, let me ask this question, because I think you've given me an answer a long time ago. What was it about the development of the podcast that gave you faith that it was going somewhere? even when myself as the guy who's supposed to be heading it, theoretically speaking, had no clue what was going on? Like, what gave you the faith to say, go for it, like, run it, let's go?
Because God always meets action. Period.
I wish you wouldn't have said that when we have to close in a few minutes, because I would have totally asked you like 2 other questions. God just needs action.
He will meet you when you take the first step, because he wants to know, are you willing to do the free fall?
Ooh.
He's your father. We don't treat him like a
father. Are you willing to do the
father.
free fall? Dang.
And so,
I'll put the mic down for a second.
so basically, every time you showed up, you were showing the Lord, I'm willing to do this even when it doesn't feel. You know, as believers, we don't go by our feelings. We go by faith. We go by truth. He is the truth. And so if you're showing up because your heart's desire is to share Jesus with the world through this particular ministry of a podcast, then why would he not give you what you need to get it done? And so the cameras, the setup, all of this stuff is no surprise to me. He funds what it comes from his heart. That's what I've experienced over the years, and I can attest to it. I've got receipts, right? And so that's why you've kept going, because all you need is one yes, one show up, one shoot, I don't even want to be there, but look, I'm going, and he will meet you there.
So do you think, like, because to not go into a deep interview here, but one question I'd have is, do you think that for other believers, where the vision, like their podcast vision, whatever that vision may be of like what you think they think God's called them to, what do you think is the thing that's keeping them from taking taking that action step? Is it like fear of it not working out? Is it like a deeper rooted trust issue with God? Like what would you say if you could name it to be a specific thing? What do you think is keeping other believers, other members of the greater church, to step into that purpose?
A couple things. One is unbelief. That's the key to every downfall and every hindrance. And another thing is keeping God in a box of what you think he's capable of doing. And once you take the key and let him fly, you're able to see that he is so much bigger. And ultimately, he's bigger than you, your ministry, your idea, and anything that you're planning on doing. And so once you're able to see him from that perspective, like being seated with Christ, then things change. Then things change. It's like, I don't need to do this podcast for me to feel like I'm a better Christian, I'm growing, I'm learning, and I have something to give.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because God is big, and he can take it and touch people and do whatever he wants with it.
Yeah.
It's a very different
It's a whole different
intention
focus.
Behind it, yes.
No, so that's actually I knew this would happen, I just didn't know how. This is actually a perfect segue to the final act I wanted to have for a 2-year recording. Sterling, would you be able to help me get that third camera off of the stand to get it mobile? I wanted to give the streamers and people watching a chance to, if they haven't come to the store yet, they haven't seen it yet, I wanted to give people a chance to see why the store is special and why, not saying that like that the store cures all the answers, but why they should come experience what happens here. So I'm actually going to have you go get mobile with me.
Okay.
And Sterling's going to basically walk around the camera with us, so we can showcase a little bit of the store.
Absolutely.
And then you can get back to every responsibility that you have versus me asking for more time.
Okay, sounds good.
So what I'm thinking is I may actually have us put the mics down just so they don't bother us, because we still have the virtual going on.
Absolutely.
People here don't have to see what's going on.
Yeah.
This is actually our first time testing this out too.
Oh,
so
very nice.
I got the drone that was over there set up, but I didn't get it connected yet to the stream.
Okay.
So we're
Alright.
eventually we'll get that going. Are we still set?
Yeah.
Sick. Okay, perfect. So just to give you all a quick virtual rundown, this is Monica's store, Mon Christian Gifts. Would you do the honors of just kind of giving people a rundown of what is in the store, categorized by different trinkets, accessories, and